Welcome. Thank you. We've been looking forward to this conversation with you, having you on, and we're excited about your book. Before we hit record, we've been talking a little bit about the pieces and the phases and the steps that you share in that book. So, of course, all of this is going to be in the show notes, but your new book, Broken to Brave, Your Courageous Act of Healing After Intimate Betrayal, is coming out. I'm looking at it right now on Amazon. You can go get it. We will have the link in the show notes. We're very, yeah, there it is. If you're on YouTube, she just held it up. That's what it looks like. So very excited for you in this industry, working specifically with betrayed partners. All of us here know that there can never be a shortage of resources, because something that you said when we were chatting right before hit record that I 100% agree with, or maybe it was you, Alana, like there's so many different ways that we heal, that we interpret healing, that we can navigate this journey. So that there's can never be enough resources coming from someone who was going through this before there really weren't any resources. I love more and more resources to help, because everybody does need to do it in their own timing and their own pace and think about it differently. And I love the message that your book shares, which, and I'll let you go into it a little bit more, but the message of really slow down and be where you're at. Take the time to know where you're at. Can I ask you what motivated you to write this, and the emphasis of this book for you? What's behind it?
Yeah, this book has been about 6 years in the making, and it's something that was just on my heart. This is part of my story, so having gone through this and that feeling of when life blows up, of going, "I have no idea what to do. I have no idea how to heal. I have no idea if it's possible to heal. Has anybody healed or gotten to the other side of this? Or is this just, am I just gonna live in misery now?" And this idea of, am I moving forward? Am I moving backwards? And so part of this is really, I break the healing process up into 4 phases, and it's really following the journey of the relationship, and it's giving guideposts along the way. And like you said, Amy, there's no one right way to heal. There is no, like with all the resources, there's so many different recommendations and really beautiful, helpful guides and whatnot. But there's no one right way. Like everybody can have their own different path. However, what we know as professionals in this field is that there is a general direction. Like it's like this is the direction of healing. Go this way, right? And so this book very gently, broad strokes go, hey, here's the direction you got to go. Like here's some things to help you know where you're at in the process, and maybe some things that will help along the way, some things to avoid at certain stages because they can get you stuck. So it's just really helping betrayed partners ground and get their bearings, and then give a huge dose of support and encouragement along the way.
Yeah.
The thing I love that you said, and this is so the feel of the podcast with Amy and I, is we hope when people listen to podcasts, they feel like they're just sitting at the table with us, having tea or coffee. And you said that. You said if it's very conversational, it's like we're just sitting together and I am walking you through that. And there's something about that for a betrayed partner that is so calming to the nervous system of there is somebody to guide me who gets this, but they're not coming at it like clinically teaching me. They're just coming at it of, I have these tools, I have these skills, let me walk with you. And the way you described that, I was like, oh, that's what I want. I want that for my clients. It's beautiful.
There's an element of slowing down, and we know that nervous systems that are experiencing this need to slow down. And how many of our clients just, they do want the to-do list. They do want the, just tell me what to do. Just tell me what to do to fix this. And where should I be? And you had mentioned also, Tammy, how a lot of our clients can get caught up in the comparison of, maybe I should be here. Maybe our relationship should be there. And what if we're not there? And what does that mean? So there's this, as you're talking, there's this, my system is even like slowing down a little bit and going, oh yeah. So I love this idea of partners reading this and having that experience, 'cause it's so valuable and it's so easy to get caught up. And I think, just like I mentioned, coming off of the episode that our listeners heard last week of when is it time to consider divorce and should I be considering divorce? And we know that a lot of times this D word comes up fairly quickly, whether we want to admit it or not. I think it comes with the territory of this type of betrayal. Whether we're ready to acknowledge it, admit it, talk about it, say it's a different story. So I'm curious for you in your book, do you address some of these concerns and fears relationally when this is a big rupture to a relationship? It's something that I think everybody thinks about, even if they don't say it out loud. Will it last? Should it last? How will it last?
Right. I think that is like the huge question for so long, right? My four phases, that's like phase two. That's like all of phase two of should I stay or should I go? And is he going to do the work if the betrayer was a man, right? Is he going to do the work necessary? Is he going to get sober? Is he going to be safe? Do I want to stay? Is this something that that I want to choose to stay in? And I think it's really important to just be open to all of those. I think it's super important that everybody knows, like, if I choose to stay, this is why. If I choose to leave, this is why. I think both options have to be on the table. Like you said, if we're honest about it and just going, okay, maybe somebody is like, "Whoop, no, divorce, don't want to do that." Okay, that's fine. But then just know why. Like, why are you choosing to stay? And so I think part of this process is really the grieving process, the healing process is really acknowledging all of the emotions that are coming in and processing through them and allowing yourself to feel them. Because the grieving process really is the healing process. And you can't heal what you don't feel. It's that saying I love to I don't know where it came from, but it's a good one.
I
But
know,
it's this
right? I've heard it. I don't know who I'm quoting, but it's a
I
great.
know, but it's so good.
Yeah.
But it's this idea of it all naturally is on the table. And so
Yeah.
let's just be honest about that. And then let's just know why. Like, why am I choosing to stay today? Or why am I choosing to go? Because there is no right or wrong outcome to this. It really is so dependent on each person and their situation.
I see sometimes almost a rush to make this decision. Like, if I can just figure out whether I stay or go, then somehow I'll feel a sense of relief. So I see this big push to want to have that answer really quickly. And a lot of times, this one isn't a quick answer. It's not something that we do just fall upon or know. Sometimes people do, but generally, and I think you described it when you're talking to us of the rumble. And I love it makes me think of Brené Brown and her work, but rumble is it's that's not a gentle exploration. It
Mm.
can feel really brutal when you're exploring these different things and it takes you to places that you didn't want to go. You didn't choose to go. You are forced to face things that maybe were never even on your radar that you would have to face.
Yeah, when I picked the rumble, that word, I know Brene Brown has something with that as well. But what I picture is the rumble strip on a road where you cross over, a boundary has been crossed. You cross over that line and then you're on that rumble strip. It's like, and it feels intolerable to your nervous system, to your body, to your everything. You can't stay there, right?
So jarring.
And yes, it's so jarring. And it's that idea of like, okay, you can't stay there. And there is this natural push towards resolution in
Mm.
this. And even from the outside, there's everybody around you wants resolution. Can you just stop being in crisis? Can you just figure out if are you guys okay now? Are you not? And even internally, how many of us have said, if he ever cheats on me, I'm out of here. And then when it happens, all of a sudden you have that in the back of your mind of like, I said that. I said I'm out of here. And now it happened. And it's so much more complicated.
So
And
much.
so there's that warring inside too. So it's totally understandable that there is this push for this resolution. And part of this journey is, Amy, like you were saying, is that slowing down. And unfortunately, this is going to take longer than anybody, especially the betrayed partner, wants it to take.
Yeah.
But it really is important to go at the pace of your nervous system, to allow yourself this grieving, to allow yourself the time and space so that you know what is right for you.
What do you think something you just said right there with the pacing, what stands out to you? And maybe you address this in your book. See how I want to phrase this question. What are some of those things that you see happen with betrayed partners that keep them from slowing down and pacing themselves? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it is so counterintuitive to slow down. I feel like early on, if somebody had told me to slow down, I think I might have punched them. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to slow down. I want to
Mhm.
get through this as fast as possible. And it's just that I don't know. I don't know if I would ever actually tell my clients to slow down. But I think it's that I think what I would say is the sooner you can focus on calming your nervous system,
Mhm.
the better, because we just live in this state of, well, fight or flight, right? But we live in this state of like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I have to do something. And there's so many big emotions and there's so much energy. I funneled my emotions into my business. That's part of how I coped is I funneled it because they were so strong and there was so much energy behind it that slowing down didn't feel like an option.
Mhm.
But the more I could breathe through it, well, breathe through it, that's such a cliche term. If you can focus on the grieving and focus on acknowledging your emotions and focusing on doing what you can in the moment. I didn't start calming my nervous system till 6 years after life blew up. I was on the slow bus. So if anybody else is on the slow bus, I'm with you there. But what I can say is that that was a game changer.
Yeah.
That was such a game changer where I finally felt like I could be calm in my body again, where I could finally feel like I could be more present, where I finally felt like I could find safety within myself. And that is, if I can gently nudge anyone listening to focus on that, that will help because unfortunately, this process is long.
We're going to take a really fast break and tell you about some of the things coming up at Choose. The holidays are coming, and this is a time where if you're trying to heal from betrayal, can be such a emotional, hard, difficult time. It's a time where there's often so many external and internal pressures and expectations, and triggers can be higher. And so as I thought about the holidays, I thought, how can I support you during the holidays? And so this year, I am going to be offering a webinar series called A Season of Support. It's a free holiday series for couples. You can come as a couple, you can come by yourself, but what it is it's a time for you to really have some support to not only get you through the holidays, but help you not start out in January feeling further behind. The amount of people who come to me in January in crisis mode because they had put aside their healing work and they had just been in kind of a state of functional freeze through the holidays is so many. So what I would like to do is help support you to be able to keep doing your work, have support, have tools, and feel like you can make it through the holidays. So there'll be 4 weekly sessions. They're on Monday nights. It will be through a Zoom webinar. It is completely free. Some of the topics that will be included is holiday triggers, understanding, preparing, and staying regulated, staying connected with each other in the chaos, tools for daily emotional bonding, preventing backsliding, accountability, repair, keeping your healing work alive, and also how to enter January strong, how to enter that new year with a momentum in your healing. So we would love to have you there. You can find everything in the show notes, and sending all the love and support this holiday season. Okay, and now back to the episode. What you just said there is so beautiful. And really, it's about being present with where you are today. And so that sometimes being present is channeling our energy into something. Sometimes it's slowing down. Sometimes there's moments of sprinting, and that can't be our forever. So really being present. And I love the tending to the nervous system. When we look at it through that lens, so many pieces fall into place. And you said something earlier offline. You said the wrong thing. I wrote this down, so I'm reading it. The wrong thing at the wrong time can slow down the process of healing. And that piece, I think, is really important because then in those moments when we're not being present with where we are today and we're trying to jump forward and we're trying to make decisions at places that we're not yet because we haven't dealt with where we're at and haven't dealt with the nervous system, I agree with you. I think that really can stall out our healing because we're not present with where we are today.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think there's so many ways to get stuck in this
So many.
process. And one thing that's helpful for us as professionals is that when I was in it, I didn't know. I didn't know if there was a stuck or not stuck. You can't see above ground when you're going through it. But as a professional, having walked women through this and experienced it, like the benefit is we get to see the patterns, right? We get to see that there are actually very typical, not there are common ways that betrayed partners get stuck. And kind of what you were talking about at the wrong thing at the wrong time, or maybe it's the right thing, but it's the wrong time. Like the two I see that are most often is when betrayed partners focus on trust or on forgiveness too soon. If they focus on those early on, like I had the betrayal healing conference and I asked women coming into the Facebook group, like, what is this thing that you are struggling with most right now? And a huge percentage of them said trust. If I could just learn to trust him again, then we would be okay. If I can just learn to trust him and move on. And we're conditioned to believe that, almost and trust and forgiveness kind of go hand in hand in this type of thing. There's this same thing. If I can just forgive him, if I can just, it's almost like there's this hope of maybe I can make all of this go away. Maybe I can make the pain stop. Maybe we can just be okay and go back to how things were. And the problem is that if you focus on those too early, it doesn't speed up the healing process. It completely shuts it down. And then all the other work of grieving doesn't happen. All the other work, the leaning into boundaries and disclosure and finding your voice, and he needs to do the work and show himself trustworthy over a long period of time. That doesn't happen. And then everything just goes underground. And that's honestly part of my story. The first time I got a little glimpse of things, I was like, he cried, I cried. He said he was sorry. I forgave him and we moved on, but it
Mhm.
didn't heal. And so it just kind of low grade festered until about a year later when everything really came to light and we really started to dive in. And that's when the real healing happened. So yes, that's one of the things I address in the book is going, hey, here's some things very gently and compassionately. Here are some things not to focus on now. And maybe you can focus on those later on. Or with trust, trust is never actually your responsibility. It's his to earn, not yours to give after betrayal. And so because I'm very passionate about this idea of getting women unstuck. 'Cause like we said, this is long anyways. What I want, let's get you through it as quickly and smoothly as possible. We don't want to prolong this at all.
Can I just repeat that? You said trust is not yours to give, it's his to earn. And I just love that because it shifts that weight that I see so many betrayed partners carrying, that it shifts the weight and the responsibility to the person who has the accountability
Mhm.
to do that repair. So that's just beautiful.
Well, it's so easy to, again, one of the ways that I think a lot of our partners get stuck is the idea that we can do something about all of this and more than willing and ready and fired up to do something about this. So, as those phrases often get tossed over, like sometimes bombs from the other side, if you would just trust, if you would just forgive, it makes sense why. And I'll throw my, I mean, I did this, I caught the bomb. Sure. Okay. Boom. And then it would blow up. And I'd be like, what did I do wrong? What am I doing wrong? Why? I must not doing enough. I'm not trusting enough. I'm forgiving enough. And then now, so there's this level of personal responsibility that I think we see a lot of our betrayed partners take on to fix the relationship. Is there anything more that comes to mind for you that you want to add to that in terms of what you see partners do in the doing, wanting to do it all?
Yeah, it's so normal and human nature, right? Because the reality is, as a betrayed partner, we feel so powerless when this happens. And so it's human nature anytime we're in a powerless situation to try to take power somehow, right? So we feel like we have something we can do, something we can enact change.
Mhm.
And the reality is he broke it and he has to fix it.
Why is
And
this hard for partners to hear? Because we say
it
that,
is
but
so
sometimes
hard.
it's
I
so hard.
know, because this is your person. This is the person that you love. This is the marriage that or the relationship you've invested your life and your heart and your soul, and you have kids, and it's like it feels like everything is on the line. So to just be like, okay, everything is blowing up and I'm just going to wait for him to fix it. It's like, no, it feels like there's too much at stake for me to just sit here and wait and see if he is going to do the work.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, it is true that he broke it. He has to fix it. There's nothing a betrayed partner can do to fix a relationship when the problem and the breaking is his fault and in his court. So that's where her really leaning into the grieving and her leaning into finding her strength and her boundaries. There's a lot for us to do to step into our strength and our power. But unfortunately, in the end, he has to do the work if the relationship is going to make it.
Yeah, and in those things that you were just stating that a partner can do and needs to lean into is also supporting the potential reunification of the relationship if he does his part. So even in the not doing the thing to fix it that they need the partner who betrayed needs to do, you doing your part is enough. And that's
Absolutely.
hard to believe. It's hard to let that really sink in. And I think even that is a journey in of itself that's sometimes very appropriate and necessary to rumble through. But that is truth, is that you doing you does make the opportunity for repair possible when you do your work in in what you were saying there.
Yeah,
Well,
and I have a love-hate relationship with the term "your work" because and I've used it, right?
Yeah.
But it's so weaponized. It's so weaponized, especially when the betrayer or perhaps their therapist is saying that when they make it a 50-50 thing. All right, he has to do his work and you do your work. I'm like, no, we are talking about vastly different things. Like we are talking about major break in the relationship and shattering the trust and your heart and all of that and all of his behaviors and probably decades of all this. It is his work to do. And it's our job to heal and to work on our hearts and to heal ourselves. So I just want to very compassionately say that this is not a 50-50 thing. Like his healing, he has to do this work of healing. And betrayed partners are hurt. And so we have the opportunity to step into strength. And let me paint that picture too of this. We throw around the psychobabble term of post-traumatic growth, right? And it's this idea of for those listening, you can come out of this stronger and a more complete version of you than you have ever been. And I know it doesn't feel like that because I know it feels like you are shattered and everything is lost. But we know that betrayal shatters the good, but betrayal also shatters the bad. Betrayal shatters all of the patterns that maybe were there that weren't serving you. Maybe it shatters all of the expectations of life or the roles that were put on you that may or may not have been your truest self. It shatters all of that too. And so the beauty is that you get to really, you have this, it's not a clean slate. It's not clean at all. It doesn't feels very tainted, but you have this opportunity now to really truly find out who you are. And through the midst of this, just to become a more truer version of yourself than before. It is possible to come out of this and to come out strong.
That was beautiful. So often I hear actually both parts of the relationship, both partners go, I wish we could go back to the way it was when it felt easy. And what you described there and that shattering, I think I've had different times in my life where I've tried to bring all of the shards because it was all I knew, and being able to set all of that down. And just because I can carry it doesn't mean I should. And setting that down and then going on this new journey. And trauma separates ourselves from who we knew we were and what we knew, and disconnects us from that sense of reality. And so I remember going on this journey of like, who am I now? What do I even like to eat? What color do I like today? And it felt like I was starting all over. And for a season, I kind of was, because where I was at truly wasn't anything I had ever experienced before. But letting all of the bad go and actually setting that down and making that choice to move forward and to explore who you are and to let yourself look at those patterns. That's a choice. And let yourself look at your family of origin patterns that maybe you were never ready to or willing to look at. There's so many pieces in that that are good. And I love that you brought that up, because I think that's a really good way to start wrapping up our episode, is that post-traumatic growth is real. Healing is real, and not just real that you're going to be okay again, that you can be so much better than you ever were. But there's so many choices that you have to make for yourself and for your relationship that are choices you make that will get you there. And I think even the fact, and this is to our listeners, that you're sitting here listening to this podcast shows you are in a place of open to learning and growing, and give yourself credit for that, because you're on that path right now. It's big.
Tammy, is there
Tammy,
anything I was just gonna say, is there
that's what I was
anything
going to say. Yeah.
is there anything else that you would like to share before we wrap up today?
We talked about this before we hit record, but I just want to give everybody listening permission to be where you're at, permission to take what you need and all of the information you're taking in. I don't care what credentials are behind that name, that this is your healing journey, and you get to take what is helpful for you and you get to let the rest go. Your journey doesn't have to look a certain way. You don't have to do certain things to heal. There aren't certain expectations that you have to meet. And so just really encouraging you to own your journey and to own this process, to listen to yourself and what you want and what you need and what is right for your relationship or your situation, and to go through this process and hold your head up high. Nobody ever asked for this. Nobody ever wants this to be a part of your story. I still don't want this to be a part of my story, right? But you can heal and come out the other side. It is possible.
It's beautifully said. So we'll put in the show notes if you want to go get the book, read it for yourself. Do you have an Audible version out?
Yes, yes, we do. And I read it.
Beautiful.
So it's in my voice.
I just say I love that when the author reads their own book, it is such a different experience. And
Mhm.
and I'm sure our listeners, sorry, my phone went off. I am sure our listeners have felt your energy today. And there's something when you bring your own energy, not only to your work and your words, but in sharing that. And so go to our show notes. You can find everything about Tammy. Thank you for sharing of yourself today. Thank you for giving this gift to our listeners. It's such a beautiful and hopeful message. And as always, for those of you, thank you for hanging out with us this week. And we look forward to seeing you all next week.
Alana, Hallie, and myself are so excited about our upcoming July Costa Rica intensive, Rise, Renew, and Restore. This is going to be a sacred fusion of science, soul, and somatic renewal. For those of you who are doing the work, now it's time to receive. You've faced the pain. You're rebuilding your strength. You've carried the weight of healing. You've shown up for therapy. You've shown up for your family, your responsibilities, and you've learned how to survive all of it. But even after all of your growth, maybe you're still feeling a little bit disconnected from life, disconnected from yourself, your body, and from joy. Healing helps you survive, but you deserve more than just survival. You deserve to fully live. This retreat is for women who have done a significant amount of healing work and are ready to rise into the next phase of wholeness, the next phase of living. You're longing for rest, you're longing for joy, you're longing for that deeper connection to yourself. This retreat is going to give you just that. Deep healing, luxury, and adventure. Between all of the modalities that Hallie, Alana, and myself bring to the table, you're going to have an incredible experience. Spaces are filling up and are limited. Head over to the show notes and check out Rise, Renew, and Restore. Get your spot held today. We say every week at the end of every episode, choose recovery, choose healing, and choose you. This intensive is gonna take choosing you to a whole new level. Cannot wait to see you there.